Nearly 4 months to the day after 4 people were killed and 264 injured in the Boston Marathon bombing, the case against the surviving suspect is moving forward. In a closed-camera courtroom yesterday, 2 of Dzhokhar Tsarnaev's friends were charged with obstruction of justice and conspiracy to obstruct justice. The 2 men, both Kazakh nationals, allegedly removed a laptop and backpack from Tsarnaev's dorm room and later disposed of the backpack. If convicted, they could both face up to 25 years in prison. The charges come after 20-year-old Dzhokhar Tsarnaev pleaded not guilty last month to 30 charges, including the use of weapons of mass destruction. But the bombing suspects may not have been the radical jihadists they were initially believed to be. Older brother Tamerlan Tsarnaev was reportedly a fan of far right-wing conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. This guy.
Hey, listen, I'm here to warn people. You keep telling me to shut up. This isn't a game. Okay, our government in the U.S. is building FEMA camps. We have an NDAA where they disappear people now.
Past 11, you're watching the Sunday Politics. We have an idiot in the program today. Coming up in just 20 minutes.
You will not stop the Republic. Humanity is awakening.
To date, Alex Jones' YouTube channel has over 300 million views. According to the Wall Street Journal, Tsarnaev also read white supremacist publications, including The First Freedom, an Alabama-based newspaper that espouses equal rights for whites. As Salon's Alex Seitz Wald writes, Tsarnaev illustrates how 21st century anti-government conspiracism melts down typical ideological barriers in a postmodern view of various radicalisms united by a common, deep distrust of the government. Joining us now is senior fellow at the Southern Poverty Law Center, Mark Potok. Mark, thanks for joining us. And we've had you on before to talk about the rise of hate speech, but I feel like this piece, the idea that Tamerlan Tsarnaev may have been influenced and motivated by some of the stuff that is happening domestically here in terms of far-right conservative fringe movements is fairly shocking. Tell us, if you will, a little bit about the rise of hate groups in the recent past.
Well, we've seen an enormous rise, not only in hate groups, but in so-called patriot groups or militias, really dating back to when Barack Obama first appeared on the political scene in the United States in the fall of 2008. Starting right then, we really saw these groups start to expand very rapidly, I think largely in response to the idea that the United States is becoming less white. Is demographically not going to be dominated by whites as it has been for most of its history. You know, listening to what Tamerlan Tsarnaev read and so on, you know, I think what it shows you in part is that these guys were significantly more Americanized than many of us thought. They had very much gone down the kind of rabbit hole of conspiracy thinking and absorbed all kinds of ideas. You know, the world is not as it seems and so on. That's a very American preoccupation.
And Mark, it's sort of an interesting confluence. And when we talk about this happening in some sectors of the American political scene, which is the dovetailing between sort of a radical libertarian agenda and a sort of southern racist, neo-Confederate attitude towards governance and that view informing a certain sector of American politics. Is that recent?
Well, I think it again is very much tied to the rise of Barack Obama. You know, certainly the militia movement back in the 1990s saw the government as the enemy. The government, of course, then personified by a relative liberal, Bill Clinton. Now, I think that is sort of redoubled in the sense that not only is Obama relatively liberal, a Democrat, obviously, but he is a black man and represents this very major change out there. So, you know, initially I think there was some reluctance to be openly racist toward Obama, but that I think has more or less dissolved in the last 4 or 5 years. You know, it begins with talk about he's really a Muslim, he's really a Kenyan, he's not like us. But very soon we get to the place where we're talking about Obama fostering the genocide of white people, with Obama encouraging, as an outfit like WorldNet Daily says almost every day, black mobs to attack white people, that kind of thing.
Well, and, you know, and Mark, I want to open this up to our folks here in New York. And Michael Steele, the president, was, I mean, when he goes on the road, as he has in the last couple of weeks. There are people literally, I mean, we talked about this yesterday on the show, standing there saying, Kenyan, go home. You are 47% Negro. You know, people who are running for office who at one point circulated pictures of Obama in sort of African witch doctor costume. The racial piece of this isn't going anywhere. I mean, Alex Jones may sound crazy, but still has 300 million YouTube, well, he had 300 million people that have watched him on YouTube, and that sort of fringe, arch-conservative, deeply, I think, racist strain is being tapped into at crazy profit by people in the media.
Well, it is, and I think the point you just made is the key thing, at crazy profit. These folks are getting paid to be racist. They're being paid to be ignorant publicly, you know, to get out there and espouse these views that a vast majority of Americans don't subscribe to. So you take 300 million views of a particular site. We were just talking about offset. You're talking about a very small percentage of people actually kind of like sitting there going, yeah, feed me more. But it does continue the narrative of the subtext of race and how that plays into the stories politically, economically, educationally, and what people come out of, how they come out on the other side of it. And when you have, whether it's these brothers or others who kind of fall into this trap, this mindset, the question then becomes for us going forward is, how do we then graduate from just sitting around in your room, you know, musing, to standing, going out and publicly holding up a sign saying you're 47% Negro, to actually doing what we saw these two idiots do in Boston?